All right, this is recording 758. That's pretty astounding. 5813. Betsy Ross XO. Gene uses Betsy Ross's name as an alias. XO is alias. But I'm forgetting what Gene is doing for a second right here in these next couple of sentences. And saying XO. Arizona was founded or was admitted to the Union, I believe, this without me looking it up, February 14th, and I think it was 1948. I don't remember the year exactly, but I know it's February 14th. So, and then as you guys know, the USS Arizona was sunk in Pearl Harbor. So, continuing on with the Geneva Convention. Okay, so Jean Roberts is also tearing up, with Romance and Nicole, is also tearing up the Geneva Convention. Okay, and so what she's using is the initials of the Geneva Convention, GC. She's doing a spin on GC a couple of different ways. One is the Grand Canyon. And there's history here, and I'm going to talk about it, which is really cool. And then I'm going to show you what she's doing to commit the abuse and atrocities and trying to hide under the American Indian movement and trying to make it look like it's everybody else. It's Gene doing it. So obviously, the Geneva Conventions are from 1949. So obviously, this would be her predecessors, but you keep everything as built as is. You know what I mean? You keep the good. The Geneva Conventions are a blessing. But you turn in Gene. And she does this in history, like the World Trade Center. Like, she'll create something just to destroy it. Okay? She thinks it's funny. So you keep the good, you keep the blessing, and then you turn in Gene Roberts and Romance and Nicole. But I bet you anything, I haven't checked the news in the past couple of weeks. I bet you anything, she's got a whole theme going on that I can't all the way articulate because of her white peopling. But she's using a theme around GNC and use C as in crazy, and she's got another, she's doing something else with the other initial. I bet you anything she's committed terrorism using GNC. So she's triplicating it. So she's using Grand Canyon and she's using Geneva Convention. So she's on this hard thing right now where she wants to make people believe what she wants them to believe, such as Christine is crazy. No, I'm not crazy. And then I bet you anything she's went and committed terrorism using GNC. So anyway, I want to talk about the Geneva Conventions. So the Geneva Conventions, is a little bit of a history trail quick off of Google. The Geneva Conventions of 1949 are 4 international treaties forming the backbone of international humanitarian law, universally ratified to limit the barbarity of war. They protect people not participating in fighting, civilians, medics, aid workers, and those who can no longer fight, wounded, sick, shipwrecked troops, and prisoners of war. They're the 4 Geneva Conventions. The first convention protects wounded and sick soldiers on land during war. Second convention protects wounded, sick, and shipwrecked military personnel at sea. Third convention applies to the treatment of prisoners of war, POWs. The fourth convention provides protection for civilians, including those in occupied territories. Key principles and rules: humane treatment. Persons protected by the conventions must be treated humanely, protected against torture, murder, and corporal punishment. Medical care. The wounded and the sick must be cared for regardless of which side they are on. Protection of civilians. Prohibits targeting civilians, taking hostages, and collective punishment. Distinction. Combatants must distinguish between civilians and military targets. Enforcement and scope. Additional protocols. Protocols adopted in 1977 and 2005 strengthen protection for victims of international and non-international conflicts. Breaches, grave breaches, war crimes, including willful killing, torture, and extensive destruction of property. Enforcement. While the International Committee of the Red Cross monitors compliance, responsibility for enforcing the rules lies within the nations that ratified them. The conventions represent a global commitment to humanitarian principles, ensuring that even in war, basic human dignity is upheld. So she's running her proxy silent war, and as you can see, she's literally doing anything she wants. I mean, she committed stolen valor in the Navy. She's the leader of an occult. So, I mean, the Geneva Convention, she is basically threatening the military and threatening the United States government and threatening law enforcement so bad that even the Geneva Conventions are blown to heck and back. Like, she just does whatever the heck she just freaking wants to do. She does not care. So, some things I want to go over with you historically. So, I instantly saw the Grand Canyon in this, and then I saw that there's 4 international treaties. So I know that this is tied to northern Arizona. It is tied to the Four Corners. So I know that's where they get the 4 Geneva Conventions from, because it is related to Arizona. So I know that's the historical theming of the Four Corners is the only place in the United States where the 4 states meet together by the corner. And I decoded the 4 Corners before. You're going to have to go look in my earlier podcast, unless I had, it's in my podcast, because I think I started making podcasts and I decoded the 4 Corners, unless I've got it in my books. So anyway, so she's using, so it's cool how this is created based off of the Southwest, but that tells you more. Even look at the Geneva. Also, she calls herself Lady Guinevere, Lady Genevieve, or Lady Guinevere. She committed, when she did the Spire Fire at Notre Dame, she was referring to herself as one of those names. But anyway, it's one of her aliases. So anyway, so you can see the 4 plus 9 is 13. And then you can see 9 minus 4 is 5. And then you can see in Geneva, you can see the V, and then you can see Eva. So you can see if the V was, flipped. So it's referring to the future, now present day. So I wanted to point this out, that she's not even, well, because she lied. She didn't lie about being in the military. She joined the military fraudulently. She lied about her name. She lied about her intentions. She joined maliciously and fraudulently, which is counted as stolen valor. So anyway, people are looking to see, in my brain, they're looking to see if this somehow relates to Chatsworth Canyon or, it does, Benedict Canyon, because G transposes to B, Beneva. Oh my God. There's probably a direct relation to that. So, and she's acting, while she's running the silent war, she is, I mean, because she's doing whatever she wants. She's completely barbaric. In fact, the neighborhood I live in, like I always say, like my neighborhood, wherever I'm going to be, is going to be a spotlight, because she knows I have evidence against her, and she knows I'm making reports against her. And that's going to be wherever I go in life until she's arrested. But because I'm an actual informant, wherever I go is the safest area to be, which means there's actual intelligence hiding everywhere. So even though, despite her and her Manson occult running around this city block, even buying property and then letting people move in, or which is like, as she says, the Beatles pay for it, but they said no, they're not paying for it, Gina's lying, or in apartments nearby. She's got her Manson occult. She runs a break-in racket. So if you're experiencing any theft in your home, it's not just like in my city block, it's all over the city. She's running a huge racket, a vandalism racket, and it's all over the world. She commits vandalism all over the world. So I bet you, remember that was on the news in Washington, D.C. I was watching something, and somebody was in, it was like, I don't know where it was in Congress. Somebody was in Congress. There was a woman on TV, a politician, and she literally got robbed in Congress. Somebody stole her purse. And when they were playing it on the news, I was like, Jean did that. I know she freaking did it, because Jean is running a break-in racket and a vandalism racket. And so, as I'm watching it, and I'm going, she freaking did that. And she goes in my brain, literally, as I'm thinking, you freaking did that. You freaking did that, Jane. You robbed that lady. She goes in my brain from the directional, throwing a direction on the TV. She goes, think ya. She literally admitted to robbing the lady. So, I mean, she's running a huge freaking racket. So, wherever she thinks she's going to stalk me at, there's like tons of people everywhere. One night, it was like a couple of months ago, I was sitting in the backyard, and she was talking to my brain, and she started making threats to Tulsa in my brain. And all of a sudden, just like the other night when actual intelligence came on in my brain, she made a threat, and they just showed up out of the middle of nowhere. Boom! You know how, like, Will Smith says in his song, Men in Black, boom, like that, suits fill the room up? I mean, that's what it was like, just boom, that freaking quick. She was making a threat, and she was using a CGI of someone that I know pretending to be them, and she was making a threat, and boom, intelligence showed on that freaking quick. Like that freaking, like, boom, quick. In my brain, I could see the visuals, everything. So, this was a couple of months ago. She was making a threat against Tulsa, and all of a sudden in my backyard, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. All of a sudden in my backyard, I could see people rappelling, like agents or whatever, you like, military, like special ops, like black ops. All of a sudden my backyard filled, all the trees on the line past the fence line. I could see like people, like black ops, special ops, like rappelling from the trees, like Fring! Like, what'd you say, Jean? Did you have something to say? Like, freaking instant. And I could see it in my brain. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that in my life. So, I mean, she just thinks she's getting away with this. And they do know that she is committing those terror attacks too. But like I was told, and like I was explained to, and like I try to explain, is that the military is, you know, a lot of moving parts. And when you're assigned a job, and that is your job. Like when you're there, like, this is your gun, this is my gun, this is my rifle. Okay, it's just like your job. This is your job. You don't do their job, you do your job. Okay, this is your job. So everybody focuses on their own job, and it's a gigantic schematic that is run by military leaders. So the guys that are watching locally here for Jean to make one move, making a threat with explosives or anything else, it's going to be freaking instant, that quick. She will be pulverized. That doesn't mean the United States government is letting her getting away with sauntering about the city, hacking the hell out of them, breaking freaking pipes, ripping people off, hacking computers, committing terrorism, spreading lies, making money spreading lies. Like, it doesn't mean she's getting away with any of that just because these guys are focused on one thing, which is detonation. Okay, so I mean, everybody has like different roles to play. So anyway, I saw them and I was like, oh my god, it was the like craziest, like coolest thing in the world. I mean, just out of the middle of nowhere. I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, so I just wanted to talk about the Geneva Convention because I know she's using that as a theme right now. So, okay, so let me see, continue here. Okay, so remember, here's more decode. Okay, so this goes back to 9/11 and future, present day, future to the end. I mean, everything is overlap of everything else. Her terrorism plot. So remember everything around scissors. Okay, so where I decoded that full page of scissors school, and then the scissors from me in grade school when she used ice on me. She robotically controlled me in grade school to cut my bangs off. I had bangs, and then, you know, bangs, quote unquote bangs, and I cut my bangs off. I was in grade school going to East Globe, and I cut my I literally cut off to my scalp. I cut my bangs off. And something just told me, but it was Jean, like, cut your bangs off. And I was like, I'm gonna cut my bangs off. Like, she's like literally like controls me like that when I was little. So anyway, so I cut my bangs off with scissors. And then, you know, my mom, she's like, she's obsessed with scissors. This is a big theme. Scissors is a big theme. And then my teeth, my incisors. She smashed Jean Roberts when she ice raped Nice Try Jean. I mean, you really have got to cut the crap. Jean Jernigan Robertson, she used ice on me to walk into that swing and the perfect trajectory of it swinging down and hit me in my teeth. And then I decoded all that, and she was using my incisors, which is your two front teeth, your buck teeth, using my incisors as a theme in doing the World Trade Center attack in the future, and I decoded a whole bunch around it. And then I get a little bit older, and then she ices me to cut my bangs off, which I'm going to get back to in a minute. And then then I find out, and you have to see previous podcasts, then I find out there's a Shears School, which is a military officer school, which my dad went to a military officer school, but I don't know if it was Shears School. So it's all, everything is like all freaking connected. Even that Shears and Sears and Roebuck and Buck Teeth and then Robot. She freaking did that too. So anyway, okay, so then in grade school, she used ice on me to cut my bangs off. So I'm sitting in the cafeteria, and I know my bangs are like, I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech. My mom asked me, where's your bangs? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, where's your bangs? And I'm like, I don't. She's like, what happened to your freaking bang? What happened to your bangs? She didn't cuss. She's just like, where's your bangs? And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, your hair is missing on your head. Where is your bangs? And so I like made up this big lavish lie because I didn't want to get a spanking. I didn't want to get in trouble. And so I told her that I was sitting in the cafeteria at East Globe. I'm like, I was at school, I was at lunch, is what I'm telling her. And like, I got this whole visual, like, I'm making up in my head, which is Jean probably sticking the visual in my head, helping me like form my story that I'm going to feed my mom. So, anyway, I'm like, somebody just walked by. She even did that. What you controlling what you're saying with. So anyway, use the word walk. So because then that connects later in 1986. Run DMC and Walk This Way and all of that. So, and then the Jim Jam, and then Back to You Again in the early 70s around the same time frame, the Peanut Butter and Jelly. So it all connects together. So anyway, so I'm like, somebody just walked past me and just cut my bangs off. And my mom was like, somebody just walked past you at lunch and just cut your bangs off. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, there's nobody that walked past you with scissors and cut your bangs off. I was like, yeah, somebody just walked past me and cut my bangs off. So anyway, I was like fully expecting she was going to believe me. And she's like looking at me like, you're full of it. And so, like, why are we even having this conversation? You were like insane lying to my face. Like, this is ridiculous. So anyway, and I'm like, she'll believe it, like in my brain. And so, anyway, I literally had cut my bangs off. So anyway, so I go decode this whole memory, okay, and it's horrific. I'm bawling. Like, this is when I was in Oklahoma City. I'm like literally bawling my freaking eyes out because I'm realizing how much she stalked me and my family. Again, I know she did the World Trade Center attack. And then the way that she iced that event controlling me as a child is basically that goes to she's basically planning on flipping the roles in the future. She wants to pretend like when I say Jean is ice raping me, I'm literally talking about Jean Jernigan Roberts. She's still AI. But Jean has, her little fetish and she wants to pretend that I'm crazy and pretend that I'm projecting and that I'm talking about my mom and all her little crazy fucking psycho lie ass bullshit. No, I'm literally turning in Jean Jernigan Roberts. So anyway, and she literally thinks people are going along with her like lie ass freaking shit. So anyway, she pre-planned like to do that to me as a child and then flip all the roles around of it. And then basically what she's saying in the cipher that I decoded is that nobody's going to believe you when you make a report against me in the future and I got away with doing this to you as a child and I'll get away with it because you're going to try to tell on me and I'll have gotten away with it and no one will believe you. And you're not the one lying. Is what she's saying. So I'm like freaking out, bawling upset, and I'm like, bitch, I'm freaking. She's like flushing my face right now, like turning because she's freaking lying to someone somewhere. But anyway, so she's like, so I'm like decoding this, and I'm like, I'm gonna find. I'm gonna turn your ass in. You did the World Trade Center attack. You sucked the shit out of me and my family. So what someone else is pointing out to me right now is look what else she did. So she ice raped some of the pilots, and she ice raped the pilots, right? She used ice on the pilots. She is the true one who did the World Trade Center attack. But remember I told you some of the pilots or one of the pilots, she iced to go to Spartan School of Aeronautics and he never really went to Spartan School of Aeronautics. So she did that here with the Shears, Spartan School of Aeronautics. So that tells you, so because Shears, okay, here we go. So you got Shears, and then you have Shears School. So again, she's trying to frame the Marines. It's Jean Roberts and her Manson occult, and she's trying to frame political factions and religious organizations in the Middle East that didn't do it either, that got blamed for it. They didn't do it. Jean did it. And she's trying to frame them, and she's using shears. And also, in my adult years, okay, remember I told you she assaulted me when I was 2 months old with a pencil. And I told you about the dress that my mom made me. She hand sewn a dress for me. It was yellow and white, and it looked like the Alice in Wonderland dress. But Alice in Wonderland was blue, right? And then so you got the combination of blue and yellow, okay? And my mom and my grandma made that for me out of love, pure love, which is a regala to Jean. Like, I'm gonna ice him, and she's gonna give her the most precious, beautiful gift, and I'm gonna do evil with it. That's what Jean does. Regala means present in Spanish. Giving gifts with evil, even if it is, or especially icing two people to give one another a gift, but having an evil undertone to it. That's what Jean does. She's all about gifting. And she loves to do. So anyway, you guys all know that with the regala, that's one of her aliases. So anyway, this dress, and you can see my little bangs. There's a picture of me, a little elementary school picture of me with the little bangs and everything. Even she freaking did that. What's his name? And she stalked the heck out of them. The same time she was stalking the heck out of you, Menudo. Ricky Martin. He sang that song, She Bang, She Bang. She freaking did that. She freaking iced his music. She freaking did that too. She stalked the crap out of that boy band. But anyway, so my little dress that my mom made me, my grandma, she can paint. I mean, she can paint. She can paint the most beautiful scenes in the world. And I've told you that. My grandma painted on the side of my dress, and my dress went down to my ankles, and so went up the whole side of my leg, almost the whole side of my leg, a real pretty little Indian girl on the side of my dress. The dress was hand painted on. It was gorgeous. So Jean used you know what yellow and blue is to Jean, right? And then you want to know what yellow and blue really means, okay? And then you know what yellow and white means to Jean. So basically, she's saying she's trafficking me and she's going to get the heck away with it. And she's basically saying she's royalty and she's going to get the heck away with it. And she's going to hide under the United States Navy, who she's trying to hustle, and get the heck away with it. And she thinks she's going to get the heck away with everything. So anyway, so she uses all these colors, right? So also want to point out is blue and white, okay? So blue and white refers to the sky and the clouds, okay? And I decoded this and figured this out when I was decoding. I decoded all of these separately, but then I realized these are all parallel lines. And then the more I decoded, I'm like, these are all the same kind of story, just told a different way. And it's about purgatory, okay? So I'm talking about Alice in Wonderland, and I'm talking about The Wizard of Oz, and I'm talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, okay? So you remember at the end when Charlie, he wins the chocolate factory and the elevator crashes through the ceiling and they're going up into the sky. And then in The Wizard of Oz, you've got the yellow brick road, and then look what Dorothy is wearing, and then the tornado in the sky, and then Alice in Wonderland, look what she's wearing in the Disney movie. I looked at all versions that I could find of Alice in Wonderland just to see, and there's something different in every one. But I decoded out of the book Alice in Wonderland. I decoded so much. It is insane. So I've got tons and tons on Alice in Wonderland. So the blue and white dress, that signifies the clouds in the sky. So blue and white signifies death. You're dying. And it signifies they're all in states of purgatory. Okay? So are you going to go to heaven, or are you going to go to hell, or are you going to stay in the state of purgatory? So that's what all of these are all based on. The same thing. I decoded the heck out of all of them because she used these all as a theme in controlling my life. And she based my life primarily on Alice in Wonderland, where I'm Alice. Okay. And then so the Shears school, I don't even remember how I was going to talk about all this Alice in Wonderland. Okay, so then later on, I believe it was in my adult years. I don't know if it was my adult years or my teenage years. I can't remember. I have to go look up the date again. But I decode, you have to see my previous podcast, I decode JonBenét Ramsey. And for those of you guys who, well, I mean, you can easily see she's using beignet, B-E-N, beignet, and then for those of you guys who know, beignet is a donut, okay? And Jean has changed the definition of donut to meet her ecosystem agenda. But you know, in Alice in Wonderland, Sweet Treat, okay, what she uses food to traffic and sell children, babies, and adults, okay? So it's easy to hide because food is everywhere. And if she overlaps it to run her little ecosystem and changes the definition, what does that mean? She gets to keep doing the same damn thing that she's always been doing because everybody thinks she's got everybody fooled into thinking, well, this is all being done. This is all different now. This is based on Jean's new definition. No, it's not. She created a cloak so she could keep doing the same thing she's always freaking been doing. You've got a freaking perv running a Save a Freaking Child campaign who needs to be freaking electrocuted. She's a child trafficker and a terrorist. So anyway, so for food, like I never pay attention to food. So it's easy to disguise food. Food is the easy way to advertise, and plus people use food, adults use food in like we use food the regular way, you know what I'm saying, like calling somebody, you know, calling somebody pudding or something, you know what I mean? We use food like, or like chocolate, you know what I'm saying, like we use food to address people as sweet or you know, or my love or whatever. And so she hides under that. It's a very easy cloak and shield for her to hide her activities under because it's something that's already used amorously to indicate your love for one another. But she's using it diabolically in another direction. Okay? So now she's got a couple of layers that she hides under, okay? The regular terms of affection use for food, how people use food to communicate. And then her little freaking ecosystem where she changes the definition of it so she can keep doing the same thing. So basically, she basically trafficked JonBenét Ramsey and she assaulted her and she killed her. And you have to see all my podcasts to go through all the decode. But anyway, she assaulted her with the paintbrush. So that connects back to, that goes all the way back to my dress when I was little. So she's a collector. Like I told you, she's a name collector. Like she's a collector of like children and people. Like she is like, because she's a freaking serial killer. She's a predator. She's got like a whole collection of like let me just get this one and get this one. Let me just all stack them on top of each other. And then if I get caught, I'll flip it all around and do a little shuffly here, shuffly there, and tell a bunch of lies and get everybody going, ah, in all different freaking directions. And I'll have people like freaking putty. And then I'll get to keep doing the same thing I've always been doing. So anyway, and she tried to frame the United States Marines. Again, everything is always the Marines' fault. Everything is the Marines or police's fault to Jean, because those are her fetishes. Okay, she is a predator. These are her fetishes. So everything is always their fault. Everything is our fault, because she's getting a freaking gratification out of it. So they did not do this. She did it. Her and her Manson occult did it. She personally assaulted me. What her involvement in with JonBenét Ramsey, I know her and her Manson occult did it. She's a leader, so she did it. But like specifically who did it, start by arresting Jean Jernigan Roberts, and then you'll get to your killer. And I bet you she was somehow freaking involved. So anyway, I mean, she was obviously involved because she had to write the demon ciphers to go with it. So, anyway, so she's trying to blame. So this goes back to the shears, the scissors. Okay. So also, she keeps putting in my brain, but this isn't true, and I'd have to look it up to see. But she probably wanted to use it. The scissor, she's saying the scissor tail is the Arizona state bird. The scissor tail isn't the Arizona state bird, but since she keeps saying scissor tail, she obviously used that. But I think it's a cactus wren that is the state bird of Arizona. So anyway, so she's using shears and shears school and all that. Okay. And then, shears, and then she's using that to connect Spartan School of Aeronautics. So she's literally bragging about doing the World Trade Center attack and framing people for doing it who didn't do it. Her and her Manson occult did it. Okay, so the shears also connects to, and then shears, and Sharon Tate, da 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 da. So you could probably do all the cross reduction there and bring out a whole bunch of more ciphers that she created. So it also connects to Shere Khan. Okay, so Shere Khan is from The Jungle Book. Okay, which is another movie that I loved when I was really little. I loved The Jungle Book. And Shere Khan was a snake in the book. Okay, so she's planning to do the World Trade Center attack. She's planning to do the Oklahoma City bombing. And she's also making a future reference of snake terrorism and also the silent war. She wants these closely linked because she wants to redefine what the silent war is, because that's a part of her ecosystem conspiel. Because she's demonic, she wants to tell lies, and she wants to run her money-making con so she can get her real terror plot that lies underneath it. She wants to keep it going, keep funding it. So that links to future and present-day future to end snake terrorism. Okay, so now Shere Khan links to Spawn. And remember I told you she's been breeding snakes. So Spawn Ranch. Okay, that's one of her Charles Manson hideouts. So Shears, Shere Khan, and Spawn go together. So, okay. So then, let me end this recording. I got another recording to make. And we're going to get into more crime that Jean committed in history. So that's the end of this recording.